What if I told you that the story of the Filipino people is one of the most epic, globe-spanning adventures you've never heard? We think we know the Philippines, beautiful beaches, amazing food, right? But what if the very DNA of its people tells a story of lost species of humans, globe-trotting mariners, warrior kingdoms dripping in gold, and a genetic mystery that scientists are still desperately trying to solve? Who were the first people on these islands? How did they create a society so advanced that they were writing on metal plates 1,000 years ago? And how did they become the vibrant, diverse nation we see today? Forget what you think you know. The real story of Filipino origins is a wilder, more complex, and far more fascinating tale than you can imagine. Stick around, because we're about to unravel it all. Look at that. Just wow! Over 7,000 islands scattered like jewels in the Pacific. This is the Philippines. And for centuries, it's been a crossroads for humanity. A place where cultures didn't just meet, they collided, merged, and created something entirely new. But who got here first? And how in the world did they do it? The answer is so much older and weirder than you think. The story, like all human stories, starts in Africa. But our specific chapter begins around 70,000 years ago. A small group of modern humans, our direct ancestors, crosses into Asia. They spread, they adapt, and they keep moving. Now, most people think migrations happened over land, right? Easy peasy. But how do you get to an island? Especially an island you can't even see from the mainland. This is where things get crazy. In 2018, archaeologists on the island of Luzon found stone tools and a butchered rhinoceros skeleton. No big deal, right? Except they dated it to 709,000 years ago. That's not a typo. 700,000 years! This is eons before Homo sapiens even existed. This discovery completely shattered our understanding of early human seafaring. So who made those tools? The prime suspect is a mysterious, newly discovered species of ancient human called Homo luzonensis, whose fossils were found in a nearby cave. These guys are a baffling puzzle for scientists. They had features that looked ancient, like curved finger and toe bones perfect for climbing, but also traits that looked surprisingly modern. It means some ancient cousin of ours, without compasses, without maps, somehow crossed a deep ocean channel. It's a mind-blowing feat. But here's the kicker. We have no idea what happened to them. They were a ghost lineage. They arrived, they survived, and then, poof, they vanished from the fossil record. So they were the first inhabitants, but they are not the ancestors of modern Filipinos. A fascinating but dead-end branch of the human family tree. So if not them, then who? To find the true ancestral story, we need to fast forward by over 600,000 years again. We're now at around 40 to 50,000 years ago. The world is in the grip of an ice age. So much water is locked up in glaciers that sea levels are 120 meters lower than today. The map of Southeast Asia looked completely different. Many islands were connected into a single giant landmass called Sandalan. The Philippines was one massive island connected by land bridges, and making their way across these bridges and short sea crossings were the first Homo sapiens. These were the ancestors of the people we now know as the Negritos, or Eta. These groups are genetically unique. They're part of the first wave of modern humans to leave Africa and sweep across coastal Asia. And here's another twist. Recent genetic studies have found that some of these groups in the Philippines have the highest level of Denisovan DNA in the world. The Denisovans were another mysterious ancient human species, so it means there was interbreeding happening here, another secret story in the DNA. For tens of thousands of years, these groups had these islands all to themselves. Imagine that. An entire archipelago filled with megafauna like the stegodon, a type of extinct elephant, was their world. They developed hundreds of cultures and hundreds of languages, perfectly adapted to their environment. They were masters of the forest, and for a period longer than all of recorded history, they were the only people here. But that isolation was not destined to last. A new group was coming. A group with advanced technology, a different language, and a wanderlust that would eventually lead them to colonize a third of the planet. And their arrival would change the Philippines forever. Hey, real quick, we're on a mission here to untangle the amazing complex stories of our shared human history. If you're into that, if you love learning how we all got here, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It tells YouTube we're doing something right and helps us create more stories just like this one. Thanks, you're awesome. Now, back to the newcomers. Okay, so picture this. It's about 4,000 years ago. While the pyramids are being built in Egypt, something incredible is happening in Taiwan. A group of people, now known as the Austronesians, are perfecting the outrigger canoe. This wasn't just a boat, it was a revolution. It was their spaceship. Combined with their advanced knowledge of reading the stars, the winds, and the ocean swells, it made them the greatest voyagers of the ancient world. Propelled by population growth and a culture of exploration, they exploded out of Taiwan in what we now call the Austronesian expansion. Their first stop, the Batanes Islands and northern Luzon in the Philippines. They brought with them a toolkit for colonization. New farming techniques like wet rice cultivation, domesticated pigs and chickens, new social structures organized under chieftains called datus, and a rich spiritual world of animistic beliefs centered on spirits known as anitos. And of course, they brought their language. This is the single most important migration in Philippine prehistory. Why? Because almost all the languages spoken in the Philippines today, from Tagalog to Cebuano to Ilocano, are Austronesian languages. It was a cultural and linguistic takeover. The arrival of these farmers was a slow, creeping expansion that lasted centuries. As they moved south, they generally stuck to the coasts and lowlands, transforming the landscape into farmland. The original hunter-gatherer groups, Eta, often retreated to the highlands and forests. There was trade, there was conflict, and yes, there was intermarriage. Genetic studies show that while most of the Filipino genome is Austronesian, there are still traces of that much older Negrito ancestry. It's a signature from the island's first people. Now, it's a huge mistake to think story just pauses here until the Europeans show up. For the next 1,000 years, these Austronesian societies evolved into complex, dynamic states. And in 900 AD, we get our first physical proof. A worker dredging a river finds a thin sheet of copper, now called the Laguna Copperplate Inscription. It's a legal document, a receipt, freeing a man named Nawaran from a debt of gold. This one artifact is incredible. It's written in a script combining elements from Sanskrit, Old Javanese, and Old Malay. And it proves that 1,000 years ago, the kingdom of Tondo in Manila Bay was a literate, organized society with laws, finance, and international connections. These weren't primitive tribes. These were thriving kingdoms and maritime states. The Rajanante of Bhutan in Mindanao became a major international port. Archaeologists there have dug up enormous balangay boats, massive seafaring vessels that prove their maritime prowess. They were master goldsmiths, creating breathtakingly intricate jewelry and artifacts like the Golden Tara of Ogusan. From the west, Arab traders and missionaries came, introducing Islam to the southern islands and establishing powerful sultanates like Sulu and Maguindanao. Islam connected the southern Philippines to a wider geopolitical world, including Borneo and Indonesia, giving them access to trade and military alliances that allowed them to become formidable powers in their own right. This pre-colonial Philippines was a cosmopolitan, multicultural world, but that world was about to be turned upside down. In 1521, Ferdinand Magellan lands. In 1565, Miguel Lopez de Legazpi begins the formal conquest. For the next 333 years, Spain changes everything. They consolidated power through a policy called reducción, forcing scattered communities into centralized towns built around a church and a plaza, a layout you can still see all over the Philippines. This was a way to control the population and convert them to Catholicism. But the Filipinos didn't just passively accept these new beliefs. They created something new, a folk Catholicism, where animistic spirits were blended with Catholic saints and ancient harvest rituals were merged into colorful fiestas. It was an act of cultural resistance and adaptation. The Spanish also established Manila as the capital of the Spanish East Indies and turned it into a crucial hub of the first truly global trade route, the Manila-Acapulco galleon trade. For 250 years, massive Spanish galleons would carry silver mined from the Americas to Manila, traded for silk and spices, and then sail back to Mexico. This trade linked Asia, the Americas, and Europe, with the Philippines right in its heart. It also led to more genetic mixing, not just with the Spanish, but with Mexican soldiers and traders too. But Spain's time was running out. In 1898, after a revolution and the Spanish-American War, the flag changed again. The American period was shorter, only about 50 years, but its influence was immense. The Americans introduced a public education system, and crucially, the English language. This is why English is an official language in the Philippines today, and it's one of the largest English-speaking nations on Earth. It added yet another complex layer to the Filipino identity. So where does that leave us? So, what are the origins of the people of the Philippines? The answer isn't a single point on a map. It's 1,000 threads woven together over tens of thousands of years. It's a story written in DNA, in language, in food, and in faith. The foundational thread is Austronesian. That's the bedrock, the core of the language, the base of the genetics, the origin of the seafaring culture, and core social values like kapwa, or shared identity. Woven into that are the ancient resilient threads of the first people, the Negritos, a reminder of a history that stretches back into the mists of the Ice Age with their secret Denisovan connections. Then you have the bright shimmering threads of Chinese and Arab traders who brought commerce, new ideas, new faiths, and new flavors. And finally, you have the thick, powerful threads of Spanish and Americans who undeniably reshaped the island's culture and society, for better and for worse. The result is the Filipino, someone who might eat adobo, an indigenous cooking method given a Spanish name, or pancit, a noodle dish of Chinese origin. They might practice Filipino martial arts like arnis, which blends individual stick fighting techniques with Spanish fencing. They might celebrate the world's longest Christmas season, a legacy of Catholic Spain, with a community fiesta that has roots in pre-colonial harvest festivals. They might speak Tagalog, a fluid mix of a local language and American English, and feel perfectly at home anywhere in the world. And that might be the final, most modern chapter of this story, the Filipino diaspora. Today, millions of people of Filipino descent live all over the globe. In a way, they are the modern heirs to their Austronesian ancestors, explorers and voyagers in their own right. They are not just migrating, they are weaving their own culture into the global tapestry, bringing their unique blend of East and West, the resiliency, and their powerful sense of community to every corner of the planet. This isn't a contradiction, it's a combination. It's a unique identity forged from a history of migration, trade, and colonialism. The Filipino story is a microcosm of the human story, a story of constant movement, mixing, and adaptation. And that incredible resiliency, that ability to take influences from all over the world and create something new and beautiful, is the essence of the Filipino spirit. It's a beautiful, complicated, and endlessly fascinating tapestry. And that is something truly worth celebrating. What an incredible story, right? What part of this history surprised you the most? The 700,000-year-old tools? The Laguna copperplate? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this journey through time, please give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our next exploration. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.